Yes, indeed, folks. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. Fired up and rather angry, that's all I can say. Well, it ain't stopping there. Sorry. You know, Blizzard's been hopefully reeling for the past 6 minutes. Not that I actually believe that, but whatever. It's nice to dream, isn't it? And I have another salvo for them. Now, I like to talk about the fallacy of being all things to all men. Now, it's a pretty old piece of wisdom. And most wisdom tends to be old, otherwise it really wouldn't be wisdom, it would just be a kind of nice quote. That being all things to all men means you are nothing to nobody. And generally that's true. You know, it's like being a jack of all trades and master of none, but only in a far worse way. Now, as a jack of all trades would be like, well, okay, I can build you this chair, it won't be as good as the master craftsman's chair, but it'll be serviceable, it'll be functional, and it'll be cheap. So it's like, okay, excellent. So, you know, you have a happy customer. But being all things to all men, what you end up doing is you end up annoying everybody. Because everybody, you know, the entire player base has all manner of different wants, needs, and expectations. And you cannot fulfill all of them. It is absolutely impossible. Because naturally they come into conflict, and some of them are mutually exclusive. Most of them, thankfully, aren't, and this is something that Blizzard seems to have yet to realise, is that most of these needs are not mutually exclusive and can be catered to. Now, the idea, perhaps, of catering to the bleeding edge raiders, the hardcore raiders, and the casual raiders. It is entirely feasible that you can do this, and indeed, you came up with the idea as to how all the way back with Zul'Gurub, and continued it all the way through to Wrath, and we were hoping it would work out with the, hey, make the 10-mans pretty easy for the casuals, and make the 25-mans really challenging. Oh, wait, they're actually both easy. What happened? What was the rationale behind that? It's like, all this means is there's more gear, and more people, yet it's pretty much identical. Now, of course, I would imagine Ulduar will possibly go and fix all of that, but since Ulduar isn't here yet, I don't really care. I mean, it's not, you know. We're missing a whole bunch of content, and that's a big issue for me. Now, the idea behind, I imagine, dumbing down the game is to try and appeal to as many people as possible. I mean, this is the Wii generation. We have to understand that we are in the Wii generation. We have a brand new generation of gamers who were previously not gamers before, but now call themselves gamers because at some point they have played a game. They're not our definition of gamers, but nonetheless they have played games and continue to purchase Wii shovelware en masse. This particular player base has very low expectations, which is why they buy things like Magic Broomstick Extreme Racing. No, I'm not kidding, that actually exists. They have very low expectations, but they also have a very low level of skill and comprehension. As in, anything more complicated than, say, Tetris will make their eyes glaze over and have them reach for their nearest television magazine. They also have very little patience. They want instant reward. They want things like Wii Sports. They want to be able to punch some really poorly animated polygon figure with their Wiimotes. They want to do Wii Fit because it makes them feel fitter. As opposed to going jogging down the street, you can now do really boring exercises in front of your television, because Lord knows you wouldn't want to be without that for more than 5 minutes. You sleep in front of it, you eat in front of it, you die in front of it. It's rather depressing, isn't it? Oh well. That's the generation they're shooting for. That's the generation Activision Blizzard is shooting for, and unfortunately it's what we viewed as what might happen with this Activision Blizzard merger. They may attempt to appeal to a more casual market. And evidently they did. Now, WoW's always been a pretty casual MMO. Not the most casual, I mean, it's stuff like Yahoo Puzzle Pirates, which is probably a bit more casual, and a few other things, but it's pretty casual. However, this is not what made it successful. Blizzard has forgotten what made their game successful in the first place, and to be reminded as to what made their game initially successful, all you need to do is go and look at the reviews, the initial reviews. Let's pull one up right now. Let's go. Oh look, it's a keyboard sound. Consider it part of the ambience. We are going to go and look at pc.ign.com, and we are going to go look at the original review of World of Warcraft. And we're going to attempt to derive what a relatively reputable but probably not so much site thought of World of Warcraft originally. This is the MMO that they gave 9.1. They gave it a 9.1 rating. I believe that was probably the highest rating they ever gave an MMO. And they open up with the following statement. MMOs are a strange beast. They're designed to make you play as much as possible, yet addictiveness does not always equal fun. In the field of psychology, there are several kinds of reward systems, and the one that seems to be most successful is the random reward introduced at a random time. Sometimes you click the button and nothing happens, sometimes you click and get the food pellet. It's this mechanism that fuels the slots in Vegas. When you walk away empty, as is statistically inevitable over a long period of time, you tell yourself that the overall value was the experience itself, since you came away with nothing tangible. MMOs take away your time, and they never deliver a discrete conclusion. It's true. Now, there are a number of things. And the first thing they say, after a couple of paragraphs about the grind and downtime, is, now imagine an MMO where your experience is a string of quests where you're rewarded with a cool item, recipe, or a decent amount of pocket money. A game where the grind is virtually eliminated, a game where downtime is relatively non-existent, where enemies respawn randomly and dynamically according to how many players are in the local area, where you can use a healing spell or bandage yourself or eat some food or all three before diving right back in again. Your character's death doesn't result in the loss of many hours played experience points, or one of your items, or any of your money. When you die, you resurrect as a ghost, you move quickly, walk on water, and cannot be harmed, and you get right back into the action. Welcome to World of Warcraft. That's what made it popular initially. Why do you think I got to 60? I hate every MMO on the planet. I mean, I'm not kidding. Before I tried WoW, I tried many different MMOs. Huge numbers of MMOs. All manner of things. The only one I enjoyed was PlanetSide, because PlanetSide didn't involve leveling. It had a level system, but it was not remotely required for you to be successful. Indeed, your skill and the skill of your teammates was what mattered. Strategy, team play, FPS. It's PlanetSide. None of the other games gave that to me. The grind was too much. It was too repetitive, it was too boring. And more to the point, a lot of the time I'd enter the world and think I was completely and totally lost and confused. I remember Anarchy Online, for instance. I looked at Anarchy Online for the first time. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know. I quit within 10 minutes. Eve, same problem initially. It's got a bit better now, but same problem. Earth and Beyond, same problem. Neocron, same problem. EverQuest, same problem. Dark Age of Camelot, same problem. It happened over and over and over again in every MMO that I tried. It was the same issue. I walked into an unfamiliar world that I had no idea what I was doing, was expected just to go out and find out what was going on, turned around and said, no, I'm not going to do that, it's a waste of my time. WoW didn't do that. WoW led you by the nose the entire way through, and you felt familiar with the game from the outset. It made sense. It was set up in a way that was user-friendly and obvious, and you knew what the classes would do, and you knew what your abilities would do, and you could work out the systems behind it relatively easily, because they were well explained. The tutorials were good. The quests naturally led into each other. They led you from area to area. You never felt lost. You were given items. You were rewarded. You didn't have to grind. You said, here's a quest. Here's the reason you're doing it, and this is what we will give you if you do it. Yeah, sure, some of them were a little bit dull, but most of them were pretty okay. And it was better to quest than to grind. And I never ground. I never ground on my way to 60. I did quests. And I had fun. Yeah, sure, at times the leveling got a little bit arduous, and at times I even quit the game entirely just to have a break. But I came back and I did it. Now, that's what makes the game appealing. It's not because leveling is easy. Leveling is not so much easy. Leveling is smooth. I think it's probably the most descriptive term. Some quests are not easy. The level grind is quite long, relatively. But it's not really obstructive. It doesn't get in your way. But it's certainly not overly easy. I mean, to the point where a drunk monkey could do it. It's got easier. But initially, it was never easy. So, explain to me exactly why we believe that dumbing down all of the content is going to bring in more players when your initial 11 million came from content that was not dumbed down. Explain that to me, please. Was the growth rate just not good enough for you? Being the biggest MMO on the planet is not good enough for you? As regards to paying subscribers in Western nations, at any rate. Dumbing it down is not going to bring in new players. People come and play WoW because their friends say come and play WoW. They come and play WoW because they hear about it on television, or they see it on the internet. They watch a video, they come play it. They see it on the shelves for $9.99. They get a free trial disc. That is why they play WoW. They come and play WoW because other people are playing WoW. They don't come and play WoW because it's like, oh, I heard that this game has really easy level 80 raid content. I'll come and play WoW now. No, that's not a selling point. Never has been, never will be. Endgame is stuff for people to do once they've got into the game. They've been hooked. You've got your hooks in them. They've got to max level, now they have to do content. Now you want to keep the hooks in them. Okay, how do you do that? Well, it would be nice if we had enough content that we couldn't clear in 3 days from launch. That keeps people going. I do not want to play WoW right now, I really don't. The only reason I'm playing is because of Arcanist Belt. An Arcanist Belt is something you evidently don't want me to do because you've just cut the amount of gold I can earn in old school raid instances by 50%. Meaning I'm going to have to pay more for iron repairs now. Thanks, Blizz. Short-sighted fools. It's like you want us to look at the new content so badly that you are punishing people who try to do the old stuff. You claim it's a nostalgia trip. You even go to the point of mocking people that think the old world content is a nostalgia trip. To some degree it is. But it's challenging, at least at the appropriate level, and that's the thing, it's gotta be challenging. The same people who raided then are the same people who raid now. It never brought in new people. At all. It's not like it used to be back in the day when you had to have 40 people, and that was the main reason why people didn't raid back in the day, initially. Because they couldn't muster up 40 people to go and do Oni. Or they couldn't muster up 40 people to go do Molten Core. 40 attuned people, more accurately, you know. And that was made easier because they made 20-man instances. And look, suddenly pugs are forming. Yes, we're pugging Zul'Gurub, we're pugging AQ20. We've got more casual guilds, quote-unquote. You know, I don't think the term really applies. But you've got smaller form guilds who are attacking this content. And look, then we get to, hey, it's Karazhan, it's a 10-man, first of the 10-mans. We get another 10-man in the form of Zul'Aman. Zul'Aman, a challenging 10-man. All of that worked. That's what stops people from raiding. If people don't want to raid, they are not going to raid because it's easier for them to raid. And if they do, they're not going to enjoy it because they're only there for gear. It's like, I don't really enjoy PvP much, but I'll take a couple of choice pieces of gear from it. That's not real content, that's just kind of a means to an end. Do you really want the meat of your game to be a means to an end? Because last time I checked, leveling was the means to the end game. End game can't be the means to the end game, it doesn't work that way. Circular logic is my domain, not yours. Get off it. I'm being very possessive now. You've got to realise that the game is attractive on so many different levels and to so many groups of people. And endgame is not on their minds when they pick that box up off the shelf. Endgame is on the minds of your core player base if you want continued subscribers, unless you want a high turnover. You know, and maybe that's what they're aiming for. Maybe they want a high turnover now. Maybe they think that's where the profit is. I can't really understand why. Okay, actually, yes, I can understand why. The reason why they'd want a high turnover is because they buy the expansions, which means they get lump sum profit. And they get to go back up in the charts, which is additional free promotion for them. Indeed, it's paid promotion. They're getting paid to promote their own title. That would be the reason why I want a high turnover. The problem is, a high turnover game is inevitably going to implode in on itself. Because at some point, that high turnover, the revolving doors of the player base will jam. They will stop going. People will stop coming in. Because they'll have heard bad things. Because the people who brought them in there are now saying, no, sorry, the game sucks, don't bother. That's what will happen. That is what always happens with the high turnover idea. The quality of the player base goes down. You've got industries which are high turnover. Fast food places, they're high turnover in staff. I've worked retail jobs that have been high turnover, and you know what? That means the vast majority of the staff are poor quality staff. They are not qualified, they are not good at their job, and they're certainly not enthusiastic, nor do they have a good work ethic. And the quality of the customer service suffers as a result. The quality of the game suffers as a result of the player base getting worse. and the player base gets worse as a result of the quality of the game going down. It is a vicious cycle, and it will kill the game eventually. And it has to stop. Soon. Very soon. As soon as humanly possible. Because yes, the core player base will leave. We will leave for other games. There are other games that are not terrible. And you know what? It's like graduating from high school. We've graduated from the high school, and now we can go to college. Before, college was too hard for us, but we've graduated from the high school of MMOs, we've learned the basics, and now we can go on to another game and not feel so lost, because we're familiar with how it works. You're like a boot camp for MMOs. And if that's what you want to be, that's fine, but eventually everyone's going to graduate. My name's Total Biscuit, and you're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. I'll be right back after this, folks, with the illusion of choice! Enjoy.